Welcome to Holy Water. It is a brand new coffee shop in Salt Lake City. As you know, I'm a coffee shop aficionado, or coffee shop whore, if I can say that. Anyways, today we're going to meet with one of the OG baristas of Salt Lake City, someone who's a dear friend of mine, and I can't wait for you to meet him. Come inside. You have to say like action.
Ready and...
What's up, Sheena?
Good.
I've been looking forward to this conversation for like the last hour.
The last hour?
The whole hour.
Okay.
Well, cheers.
Cheers to that. To these beautiful cappuccinos made by Joe. Lovely. First of all, you're the latte king in Utah. You won the latte art competition.
Well, there's been many latte art competitions, and I did win one of them.
Yeah.
But it happened to be the latte art competition that first had a trophy.
I mean, you are the champion.
I mean, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I mean, you've been in this game for like how many years now? You've been a barista?
In coffee, I've been a barista for 17.
17 years.
Yeah.
That's incredible. You don't look old enough to be in coffee for 17 years yet.
Well, I started when I was 4. I mean, you gotta start young, you know?
Yeah.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
I remember I first met you. I was doing the math today, and it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
10 years ago. And do you remember where I met you?
The first time I remember ever meeting you was at Nostalgia, and it was at night.
You were wearing, I swear you were wearing a beret. Was it a beret?
I don't know that I've ever had a beret on my head. Maybe tried one on. Most likely it was the fedora.
But from that moment, it really was apparent to me how original you were and how authentic you were to yourself. And I think that's been the Joe that I've known for the past 12 years. As I've gone to all these different coffee shops, because you're like the coffee shop barista, the icon around Salt Lake City. Each one, you always maintain this sense of authenticity.
I do a lot of thinking, you know, so like whether it's completely, you know, whether my decisions are completely organic or whether they're like slightly contrived, I'm not really sure, you know?
What got you into coffee originally? Like, when did that passion and love affair start?
Yeah. I can first remember like really being like, coffee being like something that I really like in high school, maybe around the age of 15 or 16. And at that point, like I almost feel like even at that point, I wanted to make coffee a little bit of my identity. But I had this bedroom that was like, instead of a bed, I had a couch and a coffee table.
Are you serious?
And a coffee machine, a coffee station.
So you were creating your own coffee shop.
Yeah. It was a coffee table, a long, low coffee table with things very intentionally placed on it. Like I remember there's no sign of sleeping material or anything, you know. I mean, even though there was a couch, I actually slept on the floor. But I had a coffee station, you know, just, you know, Mr. Coffee type style, but on a table devoted to coffee with the little coffee condiments on there and everything. I remember, you know, brewing a pot of coffee at as late as like, you know, 10 o'clock p.m. and like hanging out with my friends and drinking a pot of coffee and just staying up late. Like when I first realized the coffee could taste really good and really interesting and complex on its own, that sparked something in me right there. I remember that day, and it made me really, really curious. You know, so basically like I wanted to figure out how to make coffee taste like that. It was like, okay, like, because I was already a barista at that point, but I was like, what motions am I not doing with my espresso machine that are making my coffee not taste like that? Basically what I figured out is like you have to dial coffee in. I mean, first coffee has to be like quality grown and processed coffee. and it has to be like roasted with like great care and intention. But after that, when you brew it, you still need to do this process called dialing in. And so I became aware of that even before I was in specialty coffee, and tried to do as much research into that as I could. But like working with the coffee I was working with at the time, it just like, it wasn't really possible. I kind of realized that I would have to work at one of those shops to really figure this out. Eventually, I ended up working at a shop, the Rose establishment. But even at that point in time, like there wasn't a lot of technology and information out there. I think that shops like the Rose establishment were still, prior to me working there, we're still like operating like largely on information that had been like passed on from roasters. But honestly, a lot of that information was traditional information that was just sort of not founded in science.
Yeah.
In the science aspect of it, the experimenting and the like testing was really just starting to become known in the coffee industry, at least in Salt Lake. I never really satisfied that curiosity. I don't feel like I've ever figured coffee out. I've made advancements, and I've had breakthroughs of sorts, but at the same time, like coffee still remains like a mystery to me, and I like a good mystery, so that's stuck with it,
It's like a never-ending love affair.
Yeah.
Because you can never get enough. You
Yeah.
never know
Right.
enough
Right.
about this muse.
Yeah.
That
Right.
is coffee.
You got it.
That's beautiful. Like, what is your love for? What is like so magical about the coffee shop? Like, what is it to you that it why do you feel good here and being a part of a coffee shop where people come in every day, and what does it symbolize to you? Yeah.
That's a great question. That's a really good question, because I think it's a good question for like summer of 2023 as well, because I think the coffee shop is a different thing all of a sudden than it has been for my entire life. I think a lot of people that are coming to coffee shops and that aren't coming to coffee shops aren't aware of like what place a coffee shop used to hold in the community. I think the biggest sign of that is coffee shops closing earlier in the day, or just cutting their hours back like earlier and earlier. Whereas coffee shops used to be open until, there was always some shop open until midnight or later. I think it's been the slow process of like cutting the hours back, and the coffee shop just sort of being like more functional, for the caffeine. So they're just trying to focus on those morning hours. So whereas a coffee shop used to be like this like social gathering of like all, different, I don't want to use the word classes, but a variety of people, all walks of life.
Coffee garden, there's people of all ethnicities, all ages, everything.
Like I used to go to just kind of people watch, I would. It was also like my like main. It was like my social life as well. And this is even before I was a barista.
Mine too.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I had like the most pivotal conversations for my life, especially right in my mid-20s, that really catapulted me in certain life paths. And just one more question without going too far down this circle. I know you're fanatic about music as well. Where do you find the coffee music crossover? Is there a crossover?
Well, I don't know if you remember me like hanging out at coffee shops like 15 years ago, but I would always bring this little cardboard box of CDs. It would fit 5 CDs.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, and I would try to sit at a coffee shop and listen to all 5 CDs like in one
Just one
day,
sitting.
in one sitting. There's nothing like having a really good caffeine buzz going and like listening to some really like challenging, stimulating music like Miles Davis.
Miles Davis, oh, sweet. Thank you so much, Joe. Should we cheers again?
Cheers.
We're gonna finish saying thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sheena. I wish you the best of luck with this series, and I'm like honored to be the first person to do it.
It means so much to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Like and subscribe. Is that what you say?
Like and subscribe with the thumbs up.
Yeah. Thank you.